you're really good at the company culture. Like I can tell that you like that because you're like not only the bigger development stuff, but even like for the listener, I like one year at a review mentioned that I wanted like a space heater or so. And then now we have a space heater. And then I was like, oh, I'd really love to have like a filtered water dispenser. And now we have one. I gotta keep asking for all these little things and I'm like, this would make my life nicer. And then you get into me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's such little things too. I mean, if that's going to make the difference, then hey, keep you drafting better or whatever, like I'll do it. Keep you happy.
You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to episode 200 of Design Curious Podcast. Very special episode. I am going to be joined today by Lillian Janik. She is my employee, and she was back on episode 100. This time we're going to be talking a little bit more about things you might be interested in and just celebrating having 200 episodes of the podcast, which I think is a great feat. And very happy to continue to share my knowledge and information and just inspire others to become great designers. And if you're looking to work with me one-on-one, we can do that virtually in My Design Mentor, which is my online mentorship program. You can find links for that in the show notes. I love to see you in there. I have learning modules for you to go through and get some education, some really good food for thought. I ask you some good questions to kind of help direct where you want your career to go. And then you can meet with me virtually as well and get some coaching. And so check that out if that's interest to you. So let's get into our chat with Lily.
well, congratulations on 200 episodes.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, it's good to have you back. It's been almost 2 years since episode 100.
It's crazy.
I know.
Why? So
Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Yeah, so last time we talked a lot about how you got into design and kind of your career path, which is great. And I think this time it'd be fun to go over maybe what it's like to work for a designer, employee-employer relationships for those out there who are maybe thinking about working with a designer or hiring a designer to work with them. We can kind of touch on those topics.
yeah, it'd be great. I feel like we have a unique perspective on it, maybe, or can speak to it, which is maybe a little unique. So that'll be great.
Yeah, and in the last 2 years, what's been happening? What have we done? Let's see. Looking back for the last 2 years.
Did you start boot camp in the last 2? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah,
So that's big.
Yeah, we started that after episode 100, I'm pretty sure. So that's good. Been mentoring lots of designers and we've had some fun projects. We actually have been dabbling more in commercial lately, which is different for us.
Yeah, and doing more new build work.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And we passed the 8-year anniversary together. So
Yeah. You've been working for me for 8 years, which is just unfathomable. Again, time is flying and we just
I know. Crazy.
before we know it, so yeah, we're celebrating everything along the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're good at celebrating stuff.
We definitely are. We actually have this calendar in our office right now that tells us the celebration days of every day,
Every day.
National Hot Dog Day, National Pet Your Cat Day. I don't know, whatever it is.
For literally everything.
Yeah.
So,
So we try to celebrate when we can.
yeah. Even the silly things.
The silly things. Yeah. And another thing that we did in the last 2 years, not really business related, but I guess it could be just kind of work related, our work relationship, is that as we were taking walks around our office, we decided to have a mission of finding all the names, the signs of the alleyways around us.
Thank God you brought this up. How could we have forgotten? This is really that thing that's
we get passionate about our alleyways apparently around in Sacramento. Some of them are underappreciated. Some are neglected. Some don't have any signs at all. There's a couple alleys that don't have any signs. And we've been trying to walk to each sign that we can see. Of course, we could look it up and cheat, on maps or whatever and try to see the signs that way. But we try to actually physically walk by those alley signs.
We like our walks too. We're on a walk anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So we gave ourselves a mission.
It all started, we could also just mention that our passion for plaques. And that I feel like is what led into the alleyway passion.
Yeah. And I don't think we fully realized we had this passion until we went to Dallas Market and we were staying in Dallas and we were walking around the city and we noticed how well documented their historical sites are. And they have a plaque for this and a plaque for that. And
plaques everywhere.
It made us so happy. And then we come back to Sacramento and there's a significant lack of plaques around to tell us about the historical questions that we have around all of our, we have a historical district. We have old buildings that are over 100 years old and we want to know their history and what the architect was and what was this house used to be for. There are very few of those. And so we will walk around and silently tell
plaque police.
Yeah.
We're like,
give citations.
You need a plaque.
Exactly. So that's kind of the nerdy thing that we do and that we're into, but we love it.
One of the nerdy things.
Yeah. But I think it is, not too far from our interests as designers. We love architecture as well and historical sites and historical preservation. And so I think that's important to us.
100%.
Yeah. So
we'll tie it in.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. Besides all of our design work and everything.
Yeah. Right.
Just kind of looking back as you started to work for a designer, which is me. You started through an internship. What were your expectations kind of going into it? Because you hadn't really worked for a designer before.
No, I hadn't really worked for anyone before, which is kind of crazy. And so I don't think I really knew what to expect. I think I was kind of just along for the ride. Whatever design work that I was given, I was extremely happy about. I felt I was just really excited. It felt like even going to pick up tile samples, I remember felt like living my dream. I was like, you're kidding me. I get to go look at tiles. This is the dream, which I try to remind myself now when I'm in a tile showroom. I'm like, this is the dream, girl.
Yeah,
you're living it up. So yeah, I think I don't know if I really had too many expectations. Starting for you, though, I feel like I was doing maybe the same amount of preliminary design work that I'm doing now, but now I'm doing more.
Yeah.
So starting off, it was really all the fun things all the time almost. I wasn't doing as much admin work. So yeah, and it's super fun.
Yeah, and I think that is an interesting point too, because a lot of interns or a lot of new entry-level designers don't get to do a lot of the fun tasks. But for me, it was a little bit easier to hand off some of those things. I knew you had design training from school. And so some of those design tasks were a little bit easier to hand off than trying to teach you how to use the software to do some admin data entry or something like that. So
and you had another employee who was doing all the discovery calls and, doing some more of the kind of admin stuff as well.
That's true.
So that was already covered by somebody else. And so you were able to just kind of hand me some of the fun preliminary design stuff.
Yeah. So you were living the dream from the get-go.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And we changed work locations from when you started. So we were working in a co-op place when we first hired you. And then we moved to our studio where we're at now. So you never had to work out of my house with my kids and cat and whatever. But yeah, so you didn't have a lot of expectations going into it. But I think that your work ethic and your kind of what seemed to be expected of you came naturally to you for not having worked for someone before. Like, you needed to show up to work on time and be reliable and a team player and all those things, which I think probably come naturally to you. But sometimes I find it's hard for other more inexperienced people coming in when they first work for someone to understand what is expected of them. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And I don't know if it has anything to do with age. It's like probably a mixture of a lot of things. Age,
Mm-hmm.
experience, life story. Like I don't know all the factors that make somebody like innately want to show up and be good and do good and be a good employee, do good work, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it probably varies person to person, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think that that was something that I kind of did naturally have maybe where
Yeah.
I know to be on time and do all of those things.
Yeah.
Feel like a natural, like, yeah, of course you do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess what's in my mind is that like I was talking with my husband who is in a supervisor position, and he recently hired someone who is maybe a few years out of college and has only worked, I think they graduated probably during the pandemic. And so then they've
Mhm.
only worked remotely
Okay.
and as an independent contractor. And then they got hired by this large company and
Mhm.
he's supervising this person. And she's very teachable and willing to learn, but there's a lot of things that she just didn't know that like for protocol for like working after hours or overtime and different
Mhm.
things like that that you don't have as much flexibility when you're working for an employer as you would as an independent contractor, right?
Right, right.
So some of those things he just assumed she knew already, but no, that's actually has to be taught on the job. She's picking it up quickly, but it was surprising. And, sometimes that you're not taught those things, I guess, in college. And so,
You're not, and I think it maybe has to do with mindset as well, where
mm,
when you're an independent contractor, you're your own boss basically.
mm-hmm,
And so it's that conversation of employer versus employee, where when you're an employee, you're automatically in a set of roles of like, these are the business hours, this is what's expected of you. You don't have the freedom to necessarily do whatever you want whenever you want. Like
mm-hmm,
you have to like have that mindset shift of like, oh, I'm an employee now. I'm not the employer. So there's more regulation of what you can do, basically.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
so
the
it is
trade-off,
interesting.
yeah, the trade-off though is that you can clock out, and be done
Right.
at 5 or whatever time you end your day and
Exactly.
just, not have to worry about it until the next day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So totally like about mindset or values of for each individual person, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot to consider there. And that is the first module we go through in My Design Mentor is the employee versus entrepreneur, which is really important to think about. Some people just don't care to be their own boss. They would rather just work for someone, which is totally fine, which is like what you do. And
Yeah.
other people have always craved that independence or like not wanting to be in an office 9 to 5 or just really want to have their own business like me. So, there's something for everybody out there and it's just understanding what works for you. And it might change over time too. So
Right.
like I was happy working for someone else for a long time until it was kind of forced upon me to start my
Mhm.
own business, but I knew it was always there in the background. So yeah, that
I think
thing.
it's a good thing for employees to keep in mind, even if they like have the mindset of like, I want to be an employer, or maybe they have experience, or, if this is their second career and they're used to having more freedom or something, of like, if you are choosing to be in the employee position for XYZ reasons, like, then that's your role. Like, you have to do
Hmm.
what is comfortable with your employer. So
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but a good thing I think to talk about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing you trade off is that, like, as an employee, you are, your employer still has veto power. And so, like,
Right.
what your designing maybe is not going to be what you think is like, I might
Mhm.
tell you, like, oh, no, we don't want to do that style, or we'll do something else, even though you really loved it. Or, like, I can veto
Mhm.
whatever it is that you And you probably have learned, what my style is and what I'm looking for and what I'm probably going to select, right? When you do the preliminary selections.
Yeah.
But that's something you have to learn over time.
Definitely. And it is, I think, a unique aspect of the design career as well, where most people who get into it are creatives and they have their own ideas of what might look good or be a good fit, a good solution to a problem or whatever it may be. But so like, I feel like you can put forward that stuff. Like as an employee, I don't think you have to be shy maybe about like putting forward your ideas. But yeah, definitely knowing that your employer is the boss and like can totally make all of those executive decisions. So when I think about being employee, I do think a lot about that in multiple aspects, you're kind of along for the ride. Like, at the end of the day, the employer is the captain of the ship and they can steer that ship in whatever direction they want or make changes, broad changes to the company or little changes, and that you are just like trusting your leader. You're just like going along for the ride. So,
support. Yeah.
You're there to support, but ultimately like your leader is your leader. Trusting them in that is important.
Yeah. And most of the time when you work for another designer, it's going to be a small company. Most designers are solopreneurs and then they hire a few people, maybe one or two. So most teams are pretty small. So you have to understand that, like myself, I've learned how to manage people over time and learned how to create company culture over time. And you explored that with me to like help craft it into something that we love and like make sure that we're communicating properly and all that stuff. And I was thinking about how like, you hear some employees or employers who are complaining about one or the other. And that usually is an indication that they have poor communication, because they should just be able to take that issue to the employee or employer and then just be able to work it out, right? Instead of complaining to everyone else about it.
Well, at the end of the day, we're in a relationship together, like you are with everybody, every other person in your life, like we are a team, like work team, like you're definitely the leader of the team, but we are still teamwork, like is important to us. And we're still in a relationship together. And so all those like things like communication that are so important in any sort of relationship or team, it's exemplified when it's a small group, I think. You have to make sure that you have all of the ducks in a row to make sure that things are flowing smoothly. So yeah, it's important work to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And it helps your projects run smoothly. It helps your client communication work better. Everything's just better when you're communicating and investing.
Feel better, I think,
Yes.
like
a place that you want to come to.
You want to have like good relationships with the people you work with and like working with them. So yeah, I think all of that is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's see, what else have we not talked about yet? So I touched on like I'm learning obviously over time how to run my business better, or ideas that I want to do, like start a mentorship program or a podcast. And so you've been supportive with that along the way as well. And it's important for me to not assume that you know everything, or like, make sure that I'm communicating. Like we do regular, our annual reviews. And so we have that specific time to like even if it's something that's like, oh yeah, nothing's changed in this category, but it gives us an opportunity to address anything that might come up, or if there are changes or something new you want to learn or that I would like you to learn, then we can, we have a time dedicated to make sure that that gets covered throughout the year. Yeah, clarity is really good. And remember, one of the things early on as I was getting employees like you and our other employee that we had early on was like, you guys were looking for more specific feedback from me, because sometimes they're just like, yeah, it's great, but it's good to give specific feedback too and be like, this is good. This could use a little work, and then it's like, I just making sure that I explain it to you and not assuming that you already know everything that I already know, so.
Right. Yeah.
When it comes to drafting standards or anything like that. What else can we talk about, Lily, that might be useful for people wanting to work for someone?
Well, I was thinking about like what employees should understand about their employer. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of, again, like speaking from an employee perspective, that I think it's important to remember that you are being hired to fill a specific need in a company. Like most of the time, there's something specific that is lacking. So the employer is hiring the employee to fill that need. And most of the time, it's stuff that maybe the employer and the designer doesn't necessarily want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're going in, get really specific on what that need is or what that thing that the designer is not wanting to do that they're wanting you to do is. Probably a lot of designers, it might be administration work, or maybe the designer like doesn't know CAD and is looking for somebody who can do more of the CAD drawings or whatever it may be, specific to that designer. Like the trick is, I think, finding a designer whose stuff that they don't like to do is stuff that you like to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is where like that is what can make like a really great connection. But that's like important to, I think, remember as an employee is that like you're probably doing the stuff that somebody else doesn't want to do. So
Yeah.
be really intentional in figuring out what do you want to do and find somebody who like that's what your job is going to be. So.
Yeah, because if your passion really is to select all the finishes and meet with the clients, but you're being hired to do the admin work or CAD drafting, you're probably not going to be doing a lot of that. And just because you're working in a design firm doesn't necessarily mean they're going to assign you those tasks or that you'll have opportunity to move into that. Especially the larger a firm becomes, the more specific your job description is going to be.
Right.
The small, like it's just me and you, Lily. So you do a lot of things. We both do a lot of things, right? But if I were to grow my team more, I'd probably have someone who's really focused more on administration and product procurement and processing and things like that, or job site construction management or something like that, and have it bleed less into the design work that you and I do.
Right. Yeah, it's not really this isn't specific to us for sure.
No. Yeah.
Because we're more of we do everything. We both do a lot.
Yeah. Which we like, to wear all the hats.
But I feel like that's something that other employees should be thinking about. Because it is something that like I hear, it happens. Like and that's totally true. And so I think it's just like something important to remember.
Yeah, look closely at that job description. And also you might discover as you're working for someone that you're like, oh, I really don't like this. And then, maybe it's not going to work out if they don't have opportunity for you to move over in the company. But then you have clarity on what you do like. I was just talking with a designer who is starting out, and she discovered that she really loves doing the admin work and all of that data entry and being like the support staff behind the scenes for the designers, which is great. A lot of designers need that. So she's going to lean into that. And that really helps her to be more hireable by others. And so, you might not know at first, but over time you will discover what your best skills are and what you're suited for. And that's just great going into an interview. They always ask you. So if you can know that, that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. It'd be kind of fun to talk about maybe some personal questions for me because I interviewed you last time. So Lily, is there anything that you want to ask me for the listeners that might be interesting?
Yes, I have several questions.
Okay.
So being a boss, like you mentioned that it was something that maybe you were almost not pushed into in like a negative way, but but it was thrust upon you. And so what do you like most about being a boss? And what do you find most challenging?
About having employees is creating company culture and really nurturing people's enjoyment of working with me and in the place. And so I've, as you know, invested in a lot of personal growth and development for myself and my employees over the years. And so I really enjoy just figuring out how to make that the best so that the employees can have, most satisfying career that they can possibly have while they're working for me. That part I really enjoy. And I actually enjoy, managing people. I'm not a micromanager. Maybe I'm too hands off sometimes as a manager, but like, I do think that it's fun to develop people and different strengths and kind of identify and pull those forward. So that would be what I enjoy. And then what was the other part of that question was what's challenging or
Yeah.
I think the challenging part would probably be in the slow seasons, just making sure that we have enough income, like, because I'm responsible for your income as well as mine. And, so it's like, that's a lot of responsibility to make sure that we're covering all of the costs and everything like that. So that'll probably be one of the more challenging part. When it's busy, it's not an issue, but there are always going to be slow seasons. And so that can be a little stressful.
Yeah. Well, can I just say you're really good at the company culture for sure. Like I can tell that you like that because you're like not only the bigger development stuff, but even like for the listener, I like one year at a review mentioned that I wanted like a space heater or something. And then now we have a space heater. And then I was like, oh, I'd really love to have like a filtered water dispenser. And now we have one. I gotta keep asking for all these little things. And I'm like, this would make my life nicer. And then you get it immediately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's such little things too. I mean, if that's going to make the difference, then hey, keep you drafting better or whatever, like I'll do it. Keep you happy. Yeah. That was a good question.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering, as like a little fun question, like we don't talk a lot about design trends, honestly, but is there a design trend that you've seen that you are really excited about and that you want to implement into a project?
Well, one that I've recently heard about and noticed coming back is Art Deco style. So I think there's a little part of me that loves glam, as you know, where I'm mostly contemporary Zen, but sometimes I'll have a little glam in there. And I think Art Deco definitely leans into that. I love the geometric shapes of that. And so that is definitely on the rise from what I hear and seeing.
That's really fun.
It is. And they're, talking like, is it going to overtake mid-century modern? And can it integrate into our everyday society? Like, you're going to see it at West Elm, or are you going to see it at Pottery? Like all these places that people normally shop. Are you going to see Art Deco influenced design there? I would love to see it. I think it's a lot of fun. I love the Art Deco era in architecture, like what's that one? I can't even think of it. That building in New York. Is that Empire State Building?
Yeah.
Yeah. So things like that, where it's just beautiful, in my opinion. And recently when I was in Vancouver, we toured a building that was very Art Deco, and it's just a lot of fun. So that is a trend that I would love to see come forward. I don't know how I would incorporate it yet into interiors because nobody's asking for it or looking for it yet because it's not so far into the trend. But I think it'd be kind of fun, even just with some subtle geometric patterning. But for the most part, like when you listen to designers being interviewed, none of them ever say that they actually follow trends,
Right. Well, that's why I was curious because we really don't talk about trends all that much. So I was like, I wonder if there's something Rebecca's excited about.
Yeah. And so I always think that's ironic. Like, do we not follow trends, or do we just say that we don't and then we do because our clients are asking for it or something, And who is making these? Is it just marketing? Is it just the DIY person who's like implementing trends, So it's just, white kitchens were a trend and we did a lot of them. And I mean, we didn't do a lot of them, but there are a lot out there for designers who say they don't ever do trends. There are a lot out there. So,
Right.
So trends, I think, is an interesting topic.
Yeah, that'd be something maybe to deep dive into.
Is there a trend that you think that you would like to do that maybe we haven't yet?
No, I think I'm just excited that things are warming up. I think I'm over gray. Like not in everything or forever, obviously, but I'm excited to get like more darker woods and more browns going on, warmer color palettes. So
yeah,
I think I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I don't really know. Like, have you talked about DLC and SDBC much recently?
Not recently, no.
Because I was kind of thinking that might be a nice thing to touch on if you could like tell people what is DLC and SDBC and what do you get from them and why do you think that it's important to have community?
Good question. Yeah. So DLC, that is my Design Leaders Collective. That's an international group that I'm a part of, like a mastermind group. We meet monthly and talk about our businesses and challenges that we're facing and how to overcome them. Really important resource of information for me because these designers are all over the world, several in Canada, one in Australia, and other parts of the United States. And it's great to see how business is all the same, no matter where you're at. You have the same challenges with clients. You have the same issues sourcing or with contractors. So it's great to see how other people are handling it outside of our immediate community to get some perspective. And it's great to have this group in particular because they have a lot of different personalities. Some are very direct and will call you to the carpet if you're like not being as productive or as profitable as you should be. And so you kind of always need, especially because designers are solopreneurs most of the time. Some of them are in our group, some have employees, but it is good to have peers that can give you feedback on your business and sometimes design work. We rarely ask for opinions on our design work, but that once in a while we might
if it's needed, right?
Yeah.
Like, something's like, I really need help with this or something.
Yeah. So we have a Slack channel too. So like in between our monthly meetings, and then we have one annual meetup where we meet somewhere in the world and we get together and do some serious look at our finances as well as our business challenges and our goals for the next year. And then we also do some fun things like when we were in Vancouver, we went and toured the architecture there and we tried to do something design related there. We at wonderful restaurants, which I think restaurants are always inspiring for design as well, and experiencing culture. And then we all come back refreshed and, ready to kind of tackle the next challenge in our business. And so that group is great. And we've actually been discussing recently a path for allowing people to come into it to join in because we're, I think, eight of us now. And so we started as 11 and some have retired and gone off in different ways. So yeah, we actually talked about maybe through my mentorship program and different other places of eventually incorporating new people who want to be challenged like we have been into our Design Leaders Collective. So yeah. So that's that group, which I'm a part of. And if I'm not a part, I already do too much, but the other thing that I do monthly is run our local group, which is a similar but very less intensive group. It is
more people and it's local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a need for it. So it's called the Sacramento Design Business Community. And there was a need for local designers to come together that was different from our other association groups that we have currently. Like there's a very active NKBA group and NARI, but everyone who decides to come to these meetings always say that it's different. It's very supportive. I call it like a designer support group or, so because we can always, like someone will say like, oh, I'm having this issue, what should I do about it? And so we can give feedback within our meetings. And then we have learnings, like we've had people more and more often, it's like different vendors locally are like wanting to get my group of designers in front of them and so that they can share their product or their information. And so we have a lot of educational meetings, but once in a while we still do the deep dive into like, how is your contract structured and is it covering everything that you need? Or are you charging enough for your services? Or how is your onboarding process for clients? And how do you do your marketing? And we did do that retreat last year, which was great for some of the local members. So yeah, there was definitely just a need for that in our local community. And so I am just happy to facilitate that as long as people are wanting to belong to it. There's no fee to belong. You just have to show up and be a supportive community member. So,
yeah.
So if you don't have anything like that in your local area, then maybe you could start one. And, it's very loosely structured. We just meet in the evenings once a month. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, you did mention briefly that you are busy.
Yes.
Which leads into my next question. So I mean, people listening probably know that you are not only running a company and doing design work in the company, you're doing this podcast, you have mentorship, boot camp. They've heard about all of that. Now they know you lead SDBC, you're in DLC. You may not know that you also are the president of your kids' school board, that
Yeah.
you have an acoustic duo with your husband where you play wine bars, you sing at church, you have two busy kids, two cats, a dog. And from everything I see, you have like a great network of friendship and familial relationships that you also have. So you're a busy person. This has come up recently several times around like reps and stuff. And every single time they're like, how do you do it all? And you very graciously like say, well, Lilly supports me. And a support system is obviously really important. I know I'm not the only person in your life who is part of a support system, but I feel like there just have to be other designers out there who are struggling with work-life balance and maybe feel like they can't do it all. And you do it all. And you're still like happy, like you come with joy to everything that I see you do. And so I was just wondering, like, besides a support system, which is obviously important, like what real life tips, organizational, or about prioritizing or about self-care, like whatever like top tips that you have that might be helpful to somebody else who is feeling overwhelmed and like they can't get everything done that they might want to get done.
Well, I would say definitely my kids being a little bit older now than they were 10 years ago is helpful. I couldn't do all I was doing now back then. And the support system, I mean, my husband's also very supportive. My in-laws and my immediate family are all local to me. So I have people who can watch my kids, and my best friend lives across the street, so it's like, it's just very fortunate to have all of that. But I would definitely say that for me, finding a planner system that worked for incorporating business and personal life together. And also, I love the wellness part of the Full Focus Planner because it makes sure I'm checking on my mental health too. And like if something's an issue, like it's going to pop up and I have to deal with it there. And so I can't ignore it for too long. But that really helps because there's so many random thoughts that come into my head throughout the day. And I don't necessarily have time to type it into Asana or, like a task that I need to do. So sometimes it's easier just to write it into my planner so I don't forget that one thing that I need to do. And then I'll go and put it in Asana or something like that. So that has been super helpful to actually have a physical planner with me all the time. And I never thought that I would want that. But that was, I think, a key part of being able to, over the last, 4 years, I think that I've been doing it, where I've been busier than ever.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helped facilitate that. Getting clarity on what brings me joy too in my life. Like I really enjoy helping other designers. And so I spend the time on that. That might change later on, but that is a priority for me. So I just balance my time. But then the other thing that I've kind of observed lately is also, I don't say it's like a badge of honor or anything, but that I am not a perfectionist. Like I can let things go at 80% complete or 80% good enough. Sometimes even with the podcast or preparing for one of our SDBC meetings or something, I'll be like, I got 80% there, and then I'm pretty good at winging it when I need to. So, and I know that about myself. So it's like, okay, I got enough of it going here, and I'll be fine. And there's other areas where it's like, okay, I actually have to put a little more effort into this and focus up. But I think that helps me a lot because I could spend way too much time on something that doesn't need that much time. So I know I have a limited amount of time, resources, and then prioritizing my health as well, like making sure I'm getting to the gym. That really helps my mood. It helps my energy level, eating well, all those things. It's not just one thing. It's like a combination of 10 different things that I've been doing over the last 4 years that have really helped facilitate that I can do all of these things. And people are always asking, how do you do it? I'm like, well, I can't say that's just one thing. I mean, Lilly is definitely a big help, So because I can be hands off on some things in the business and know that you're still working on it. So that's super helpful. Or even taking vacations, like making sure I'm taking time off and taking my personal retreat days, which I've talked about before. So yeah, I don't know how I do it sometimes, but I do.
Well, this is why I wanted to bring it up, because you are asked it more and more.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not just me or just one thing, that it has to be a network of things. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to like talk about that a little bit, because it's like not a simple answer.
Yeah.
So anyway, very interesting.
Good question.
And impressive. I'm constantly impressed. So, okay, I wanted to end things on kind of a fun, maybe question.
Okay.
Which people probably don't know that you went through your like personal style, fashion style journey fairly recently. And I know like you inspired me with that. I know other designers who are like going through like a personal style. And by that, I mean like fashion, not design, interior design style, but in a fashion sense kind of journey. Kind of just a broad question of like, do you want to talk about like what inspired you to do that? Like, how did you go about it? Whatever you feel like sharing about that.
Yeah, I think probably the impetus was like seeing, maybe as a comparison thing, I don't know, on social media or even locally with other designers who always looked so put together or looked like a designer. And I always had that voice in the back of my head, like, make sure that you look like a designer when you go to your meetings or whatever. I'm like, what does that even mean? And so I made it a goal last year, as one of my planner goals was to like figure out my personal wardrobe style and then implement it throughout the year of like buying a certain amount of clothes quarterly to align with that vision. And so I approached it like a design project. I created a vision for it by curating clothing on my Pinterest board for it and outfit styles and just kind of how I thought I would want to look in my personal life as well as in my business and like when I'm performing music. So I kind of put that all together and loved what I saw, and also noticed that it had a color palette as well with my favorite colors, which also I haven't had my colors really professionally done, but I think it kind of aligns with my actual seasons. So I just kind of leaned into like the blues and greens and sandy colors and some rust colors, that I put into my wardrobe that I liked already. So then the first thing I did was pull out all the colors that did not align with that. And that felt so good. Like just looking at my closet without all those rainbow of colors of things that like I could wear, but I just didn't love how I felt in it, So that was
I remember that initial edit, and it was like a switch had been flipped where you were like, I'm going to edit my wardrobe. And you like the next day came to work and it felt like, it was like, oh, it already feels like a whole new wardrobe. But it was because you like curated it so well. So,
yeah. And I think part of that is intention, like the whole concept of intentionality, even with your clothes and like even with design, like I think it crosses over. It's a great discipline and practice to go through. I think if you haven't done it before, just to learn how to design something, be intentional about the implementation of it, and then see how it makes you feel and it makes a difference in your life. Like design is just so parallel to that, I think. But yes, I did that edit and then I started curating, and everything that was going into my cart was all these blues and greens, and like it just was so happy to see all the stuff that was going in there. And I also discovered that I like to be a little bit more formal in my work clothes, and so I was getting more slacks and blouses and things that I felt like when I put them on that it aligned with the type of designer that I wanted to present myself as. So that was a lot of fun to actually have that more in the wardrobe. And it's kind of, in a way, created more of a capsule wardrobe where I could mix and match a lot of things because all the colors are coordinating and I feel great in all the clothes that are available to me in my closet now. So it has been a fun project. And so after a year, I kind of felt like I was in a really good spot because I went through all the different seasons that we have here in Sacramento, the cold, the warm. And so I'm in a pretty good spot now, and I just have to kind of maintain it and curate it over the years. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that it inspired you and others to maybe do it for yourself. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that has been fun, Lily. Those are good questions. Thanks for asking me. And it's congrats on 200 episodes. Yay. Yeah. And so this episode's coming out in July. So it's almost exactly 2 years from 100 episode. And we're in the middle of our summer session of like all these different great podcast guests that I'm having. So you're one of the great ones for the summer. So
great.
yeah, thanks for coming on, Lily. And I'm sure
thanks
we'll
for having
see
me
you
here.
again at 300. So.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice chatting with you.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you soon then.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun meeting with Lily, and she asked some very good questions. Hopefully, maybe you learned something new about me or about all the things that I've been talking about over the years, and maybe left out some parts that were new for you today. I am so happy you are here. Thank you for celebrating 200 episodes with me, being a faithful listener, and I look forward to many more. I'd love to hear from you, though, if you have been enjoying the podcast, whether it's 200 episodes or you just found me and you're listening to your first episode. I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can message me on Instagram. It's great to know that there's people out there who are enjoying the podcast as well. That's all I have for you this week. Next week, we'll have another great interview as we continue our guest series. And until then, stay creative.
Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.